Well, we're basically done here on Wednesday. Still no general manager has been named for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I have your latest on that and why it was likely a quiet Wednesday heading into the end of this work week coming up right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at @LNRStar Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. For those watching on YouTube, yes, my dogs are in here. Thrawn behind me here is just going to town on this pillow for some reason. I hope he just does not ruin it. They wanted to come in and be a part of the show. I think that's just how he's feeling, that no general manager has been named. As you see on our agenda on the right, for those watching, I'll tell you for those that are listening, we're going to go into why no news is still good news, Casey DeSmith season review, and a free agent that could fit very well here. We're going to start getting into that now that it's basically June for this year. Free agency is about a month away. But yes, nothing new on the Penguins GM search today. I was told radio silence. Basically nothing. And you saw it. Nothing got leaked. Absolutely nothing. The only Penguins content that we got this morning was from Elliot Freeman on the 32 Thoughts podcast, where he only said that he thinks both sides were not accurate on Tuesday with a lot of the conflicting information. He doesn't think a deal was close to being finalized, but he also doesn't think that Dubas rejected the Penguins. He said as of Tuesday evening, 8 p.m., and obviously it's been about 24, 25 hours since then, it would be more by the time you're listening / watching this, he had not decided, Kyle Dubas that is, on whether he was taking the job. And that's interesting because I had heard coming into this week, they wanted to know by Monday or Tuesday. Obviously, that deadline has been extended, but the big question is, by how much? I'm of the belief, and obviously I am just guessing here, people. I'm of the personal belief that the deadline for Dubas is this Friday. I think if he hasn't made up his mind yet, they're going to go in a different direction, whether that's Matthew Darche, whether that's Steve Greeley, or whether that is Jason Botterill. Elliot floated his name around on the Monday episode of 32 Thoughts. And, I mean, can you blame FSG? You can't wait around forever. I understand a lot of people are upset by this. It's almost June. It's about to be June in the next few hours. They haven't named a GM yet. This is the longest, I believe, the franchise has gone without a GM since, when firing someone and hiring someone else. It's the longest they've gone without one. So I get it. And there's a lot of stuff coming up with the draft, but I also will say to you people that, well, one, I know Nick Pryor and a couple other people are the director of amateur scouting and all that stuff, but the scouts are still in place and they are doing their usual draft work. And I'm sure Mike Sullivan is helping them out. And the other interim guys, they're prepared for this. I think they're doing fine with the draft work prep. But in terms of free agency and trades, I definitely get why you need a guy in place ASAP, because teams are going to start making moves directly after this Stanley Cup final ends. Final starts on Saturday. But I also will say patience is a little bit of a virtue. It is obvious, at least to me, that Fenway really wants Kyle Dubas. If they didn't, they would have told him to get lost. Nothing got out to him. We still don't even know if he's rejected them. Again, and we probably would know. It would have leaked. Either FSG or Kyle would have just sent a text to an insider, but you haven't been seeing that. And honestly, you haven't been seeing a lot of these insiders get any leaks because A, Kyle Dubas is not part of the old boys club, and FSG is so new to the league that they don't have any contacts to send to Elliott and all these guys. So FSG is doing a really good job putting a very solid grip on this. They're keeping all of it very tight. That's why you saw yesterday, I don't think any of those two leaks were coming from, people directly involved in the process. I think there were two people that were outside of it, and they were just speculating and guessing. And, I did hear that last night, that the two reports that you saw, the two people that told Mark Madden and Frank Saravalli, they're guessing from what I heard. So the only people that really know what's fully going on are the Fenway Sports Group and Kyle Dubas, and probably the other couple candidates out there like Matthew Darsh, Steve Greeley, and all those guys. And remember, FSG has to get this right. I know anyone that they're probably going to hire is going to be better than Ron Hextall, but you can't afford to rush into this. That's why they're taking such a long time to make sure they get the right guy. And again, I know it's obvious that they want him, and they're willing to wait a little longer. No news is good news. I have people hitting me up all day. Hunter, I'm getting an uneasy feeling about this. Hunter, what about this? What about that? Until you see a report that is official, that Dubas is out, you got nothing to worry about, at least right now. If that happens, then you can worry a little bit. But honestly, I would say not to really worry that much, because if he does pull himself out or he rejects the job, they could potentially give this job to Matthew Darsh. People say, well, what if he passes? Sure, is that a possibility? Yeah, but I also know that he would be a first-time GM. Most people would jump at an opportunity to run their own team for the first time. So I think he would take it. Again, a lot of this that's been going around lately is just speculation, guessing. I really think what you saw today was by design. Either A, the Penguins are working in the shadows. That's the one I'm going to believe. And obviously, again, I'm just guessing. They're working in the shadows and they're trying to get this done, and maybe the announcement's coming on Thursday. Or B, they said, hey, you know what? Let's take a chill pill after we saw that speculation yesterday. Let's give Kyle another day. See if he circles back to us on Thursday. If he says yes, let's work out a deal. Maybe they're still negotiating anyway. Elliott actually discussed that on the podcast. He said he's not ruling out that the two sides could just be negotiating, and they're maybe a little farther apart than they thought they would be. I mean, Kyle is going to get handsomely paid, whether it's by the Penguins or it's by another team, if he gets hired for this upcoming season, or if he takes the season off and gets hired next year. Whatever his next job is, he is going to get paid, and he is going to get paid very handsomely. He'll also get he'll get a very long leash. The Penguins can definitely offer both those things. Also, something that, came into my head today, what if they've kind of ironed out a little bit of the money, but he hasn't made up his mind because of his family. Think about it. What is his mom? Jeez. What does his wife do for a living? Are there similar jobs here in Pittsburgh? What about the kids? Finding a place to live. All that stuff factors in. So maybe they're just having a longer time deciding on that aspect of the move and all that stuff. Because, a flight to here to Ontario is, an hour and a half? The drive down here is 5 hours, something like that. It's you can do it easily in a day. But, it might be more than just money. And again, as of right now, we don't even know what his decision is. It could come on Thursday. It could not. But I think everyone right now, overall, just take a chill pill. It's okay. Go outside, read a book, go hang out with some friends. It's useless to just be refreshing the Twitter app every 5 seconds. You are going to drive yourselves insane. Again, I want this to be over as soon as possible because I am sick and tired of talking about this on the show. I want to get to just who the new GM is going to be, what they have to do going forward, a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's out of you and your guys' hands. It comes down to Fenway Sports Group, Kyle, whether he wants to take it or not. And if he doesn't, it comes down to whether or not the other person's going to accept it. But as of right now, Wednesday evening, Kyle Dubas, it looks like, has not told the Penguins one way or another whether he is taking this job. And we will see, my friends. This ends on Thursday. If it goes to Friday, and the weekend, or God forbid, God, for some of your souls, goes into next week. Oh, there will be a lot of sickos on the internet if this goes into next week. But rest assured, I will be here to cover it for you all and give you all the latest news on this team. Remember, Patience, my friends. I think that's what FSG is trying to be here. Very patient. They're trying their best. I could totally see them have a quote when they hire, if they get Dubas, sometimes the best things are worth waiting for. Something along those lines. I don't know. But I don't think it's going to be too much longer. I do think they have a deadline in place. My guess is that it's this Friday. I could be dead wrong. I'm just like other people out there, even the top insiders, they're guessing. I'm not going to say I'm not guessing either. And again, I've never claimed to be an insider. I will never be an insider. I don't have those kind of scoops. I will never have those kind of scoops unless I somehow get Elliot Friedman's job. And I don't think that's on my agenda for later on in my life. But I'm just purely guessing right now that the deadline is Friday. And that's what they want to know going into the weekend. And I'm sure they want to have a hire done ASAP. So that is the latest on Kyle Dubas and the Penguins GM search. Let me know your thoughts. Are you okay with this being drawn out a little bit? Or do you want someone in place right now? Are you concerned? Or are you not? Let me know down in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also send me a DM on social media and all of that. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to get into Casey DeSmith's season review. Also how he played very well at the World Championships and what his future is with this team. But before we get into that, we do have to discuss the official sports betting partner of Locked On, which is FanDuel. Make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's right, $2,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not win. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action, whether it's the NBA or the NHL, than America's #1 sportsbook, which is FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet up to $2,500. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and Locked On. All right, I'm back in this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter, Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter, @LSO Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen today. We are free and available on all platforms. So getting into our second goalie season review here, Casey DeSmith, who played the most amount of games in his NHL career to date, 38 this year, played almost half a season, finished 15-6-4, 3.17 goals against average, 905 save percentage. When you compare those numbers to the last few years, 914 in 2022, 912 before that, 916, 921. So his numbers definitely took a little bit of a dip this season. I think part of it is due to him playing a lot more. If you compare these numbers to last season, played in 26 games, 11-6-5 record, 2.79 goals against average, also a 914 save percentage. Before that, played in only 20 games. Year before that, 36. So he's usually used to playing, at least the last couple of years, 20 to 25 games. This year, had to play a lot more, had to play almost half of a season because Tristan Jarry was so banged up with his back and his groin injuries. If you look at the numbers on Money Puck, he actually led the Penguins in terms of goals saved above expected with 3. Again, 905 save percentage, 3.17 goals against average. Save percentage on unblocked shots was 947, a little lower than Tristan. Tristan's goals against average was a bit lower, 2.9. His save percentage was a bit higher, 909. So Casey, numbers that we took a bit of a dip, but again, I do put that up to him playing a little bit too much. But also will say, I think you know what you're going to get with a goalie like Casey DeSmith, and that is inconsistent play. And what I mean by that is, you all remember the game against the Washington Capitals in late March, right? Penguins are fighting for the playoff lives. They race out to that 3-0 lead. DeSmith is having, it looks like, the game of his life, at least through 2 periods. In the third period, lets in a couple of garbage goals. Capitals tie the game. Malkin saves the day. But still, he was having a great game for the first 2 periods. Big reason why they won, but still let in a couple of garbage goals in the third period. There's the inconsistency. You have other games where he's getting lit up like a Christmas tree, getting beat on bad angles. You saw that in the final 2 games of the World Championship where he was playing very well. Save percentage well over 930, goals against average below 2. And then the last couple of games happen in the semifinals and then the bronze medal game where he gives up 2 really bad goals to either tie it or win it for the opposition, where it's just like, man, got to make those kind of saves. just beaten from bad angles. I would say, and the game against Latvia in the bronze medal game, beaten from a horrendously bad angle there, and then the game against Germany in overtime that would have sent the U.S. to the gold medal game, beat on a bad angle there as from the other side. So you know what you're going to get with him. But before this year, his numbers were better than league average. And, I will always take, even though he's like inconsistent goalie, I will still take 26 starts, 914 save percentage. That's better than league average. Before that, 36 games in 2019, 916 save percentage. That's fine. 912 after that. That's good. He's a career 912 goalie. That's better than league average. But this year he took a step back. He's too inconsistent at times. I think the Penguins could do better than him for next season. And he's a tricky one because he has 1 year left on his contract, $1.8 million. What do you do there? And I really think it all depends on what they do with Tristan Jarry. If you bring him back, 2-year deal, $3-4 million per, you are going to have to find a trade partner for Casey DeSmith. I am sorry. I know he makes only $1.8 million. You cannot run that tandem back for another year. Now, if Jarry walks in free agency and they bring in someone via trade or someone via free agency, like Aiden Hill, Semyon Varlamov, something like that, or if they trade for like a good goalie like Connor Hellebuyck, something like that, I think you can live with DeSmith as a backup because someone like a Hellebuyck or a Saros, and obviously, it's silly season here, people. So give me a break. Someone like that's going to command a lot of starts. But if you can have DeSmith still get 20, 25, probably more than 20 actually, because it's annoying for goalies to start 60 plus games in the league today. If you can still allow him to get, as he has the basketball seasons, 25 starts, 26 starts, something like that, I think you're mostly okay with him. But you can't have him be your backup to Tristan. It's failed a few seasons in a row. It will fail again if they bring him back. Jarry, that is. So overall, I don't think DeSmith did enough this season. At times, he was the better option. And when they went to him for a few more games, that's when he struggled because he's not a capable starter in the league. He was fooling people, my friends. Because, he would have 2 or 3 good starts where it's like, oh my God, maybe he could finally take the reins from Jarry, be the starter. Another start after that. Oh, gives up 4 goals, gets yanked. Like clockwork. It would happen. It would happen multiple times this season. That's why you just fully can't trust him in that 1B platoon kind of role. All he is just a backup. He's not going to be a starter for you and give you 35, 40 games, or even, God forbid, more than that. He's a backup, nothing more. Better than some of the other backups in this league. I'll give him that. But I just don't think, if you're bringing Jarry back on a short-term deal, he can't be on this team. You're going to have to find a better option that can be a good platoon guy that can start, I think, 35, 40 games with Jarry's injury history especially. So his future is a bit murky right now. In a perfect world, I would like to move on from both goaltenders, as I've said numerous times during the offseason, but I don't think that's realistic. As of right now, a new GM can come in here and just say, hey, Hunter, screw you with that. But as of right now, I don't really fully know how realistic that is. So overall for DeSmith, I'm not going to give him a D or an F. I'll give him like a C-, something like that. Just wasn't fully impressed with his play. It was a little bit below average this season. Cost them some games that they probably should have won. The Detroit game, I didn't even mention that. Penguins were in prime position to get at least a point out of that game. I know they took a dumb penalty late in regulation, but you needed to kill a penalty there. Gives up a bad goal with less than 4 minutes to go from a really bad angle. Same thing, the goal that made it 6-4. If you would have just gotten some saves from him in some of these games, things could have been a little bit different. Maybe this team sneaks in the playoffs. Obviously, I think we'd be having different discussions about the overall team right now with a new GM and all this other stuff. But still, those were the lines, and DeSmith wasn't good enough for a lot of those times. But that wraps up the second segment. Coming up to end the show, we're getting into a free agent that I think really fits this team for next season, someone from the Western Conference. So stick around for that coming up right after this. All right. I'm back on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am your host, Hunter Hodes. Remember to follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Follow the show's Twitter at Penguins. And of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. Yes, I am checking Twitter right now because I am making sure that nothing is breaking, God forbid, while I am recording this. And to everyone's, just everyone's, what's the word I'm looking for here? Happiness, I guess. Yeah, nothing did, or else this, I think, episode would have been a little weird. But the free agent that I am one of the free agents that I'm most excited about, JT Compher from the Colorado Avalanche, had a career year for the Avs this season. 17 goals, 52 points in 82 games. Last year had 18 goals, 33 points in 70 games. This was the first time he's had over 40 points in his career. First time he's honestly had over 35 points in his career. Can play left wing, can play center. I think he was playing center when Gabriel Landeskog was out for a little bit. He was awesome. His underlyings this season were also very, very good. Played all 82 games. When he was on the ice, the Avalanche had 51% of the shot attempts. That's the highest it's been since 2021. They also had 56% of the actual goals for, 52% of the expected goal share, 51% of the scoring chances for. High danger was about 50-50, 30 high danger goals for, 24 high danger goals against, shot 7.5% this season. He can forecheck hard. He skates fast. He scores. He's a great playmaker, good defensively, fits the Mike Sullivan system to a T. And oh yeah, he would be a massive upgrade to the third line. I'm sorry. If you were asking me to pick between Jeff Carter or even, I don't even think he'd be the third line center next year, would he? Or if you're asking me to pick between Ryan Poehling or JT Compher, I am picking Compher every day of the week, and it's not even close. He could be a little bit out of the Penguins' price range, but when you watch the film, I see a guy who has a very deceptive shot. I see a guy who has a great first pass. I see a guy who can win a lot of puck battles along the boards. I see a guy who can really cycle in the offensive zone. You can put him on your second power play. You can put him on your penalty kill. He can play virtually at anything, honestly. You can put him at left wing. You can put him at center. I would put him at third line center just because this team badly needs one heading into next season. But he is the total package for me heading into next season. He's definitely going to get a pretty decent deal, I think, on the free agent market, because when you look at this market as a whole, my God, people, it is weak. It really is. When you go to Cap Friendly or Spot Rack, you got Kane out there, Jonathan Taves, Ryan O'Reilly, Vladimir Tarasenko, James Van Riemsdyk, Sean Monahan, Milan Lucic, Jordan Staal, Patrice Bergeron, Tyler Bertuzzi. I mean, I'll get to him at some point, but still, a lot of these names, big names, but some of these players are just not what they used to be anymore. Made $3.5 million on his last deal. He's probably going to get a little bit more on this next deal. Honestly, I probably guarantee that he will. And I think the Penguins will be looking at, in terms of a contract here, 4 to 5 years, at least $4 million per. Probably 4.5 to 5. I think you're looking at maybe a similar contract to what Jason Zucker could get on the open market. If you want to keep him if you want to put him at left wing, he would be a good replacement for Zucker. He scored a little bit less, but he still had, similar point production. But I would want to bring him in and move him and keep it and put him at center. So I would love that. Yeah, he fits Mike Sullivan's system to a T. He will be a lot of fun. And again, you can put him in any situation and he will thrive. He's been a very underrated player throughout his tenure in Colorado. The last several seasons, if I can get this right, last 6 seasons, 10 or more goals. He's been a good player in their bottom 6. This year, he was elevated to the top 6 for a good while because Gabriel Landeskog missed the whole year. He's going to miss all of next season as well. And he still ate those numbers up. Here, he would be playing with not as good players just because he's not going to be getting as many minutes as he did with, let's say, Nathan McKinnon at times. McKinnon, he rotated between playing with Evan Rodriguez and JT Compher. Compher also played with Branson at times. And it was Valerie Nichushkin. I almost missed it. I almost forgot his name for a second, of course. But, before everything happened in the playoffs. But Compher would be a great fit in my book. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. You can also send me a DM on Twitter. Do you think he would be a good fit? Would you like him at left wing, or would you prefer him at center like I would? Do you think he would have similar success here? All of that good stuff. But that will wrap up this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Really appreciate all of you listening / watching. I'll be back with another episode for you all on Thursday. And God willing, hopefully we'll have an answer to Dubas watch and the GM search in general, if the Penguins are any closer to naming that general manager, as of course Thursday will kick off the month of June. So again, thank you all so much for listening / watching. Really, really appreciate it. I'll be back with another episode for you all on Thursday.